see you anymore.
No, we're live right now. Aaron is watching from the green room. Actually.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, everybody, welcome. This is SVT time. This is actually episode 26.
Oh my gosh.
We've done 26 episodes of this. Everybody knows me, I hope. Dino from Ampeg. My co-host, Dom, will probably, I don't know if he's going to be joining us in a few minutes here. I know he's kind of tied up in traffic, trying to get to the studio. But anyways, our very special guest this week is Mr. Marco Mendoza, my good friend, my dear friend. I call him like one of the hardest working dudes in the business. Marco, welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure, man. Anytime I can talk to you, brother.
Oh,
it's
man.
always fun.
It's awesome seeing you. Where are you calling from? Now, where in the world is Marco?
I'm in Southampton, UK, which is a couple hours south of London. We played in London last night, and it was a great gig. I'm just wallowing in the fact that we're playing live shows, bro.
Right.
I'm giddy, you know. I'm like a little kid with a new toy again, because you know, as you can imagine, 22 months is just too long.
Yeah.
And I got lucky that I got to do some shows with Journey. That was massive. But this is special to me because it's my solo thing. And the response has been absolutely over the top. As you can imagine, people are just hungry and thirsty to go out and hear live music everywhere. So I'm enjoying it, man. I can't, you know, to be honest, it's a lot hard. It's hard work, you know.
Oh, yeah. But for anybody that I've seen your solo show in a couple of different forms.
Yes.
With the Latin trio, with the full rock band. The one thing I will say about your show, whether you're playing Latin music or rock or jazz, because you cover so many styles, but you're playing, you're singing, but you're also entertaining.
Yes.
Like, anybody that goes to your show if you're sitting in the seat at a Marco Mendoza show, you're probably either not hearing it or you're not feeling it somehow. You know what I mean? You're working all three sides of that, man. You're singing, you're playing your ass off, and you're also entertaining people.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago, and still, even recently, I've had the pleasure of being on some heavy tours, and big ones, and people that inspire me are the people who not only perform, they play their instrument, they sing, but they capture, you know, the audience. And they have a presence about them, and their personality it's big. And I mean, I'm a big fan of Tyler and Aerosmith, the whole band. I'm like a big fan, and so I use him as a point of reference because I had a chance with the Daisies to do some shows with them, supporting. It was just insane, man. And those are the things that we all do as musicians. We're inspired by other cats, right? And we pick up, oh, shoot, very cool that. And I'm trying to be a singer, so I'm inspired by that. But I also am inspired by the fact that you have to, part of it is to include the audience. I always tell everybody at my shows, listen, we're not the party. You know, we're here to enable the party. You guys are the party. So come together, let's have fun. I get off the stage, I get into the audience, and I make sure everybody's singing or clapping or dancing or whatever. And I'm trying to remember where I picked that from. Anyway, it's one of those things where you want to make sure, for me, what's important. Obviously, you have a message for your music. I'm doing 85% of my music on my shows is original stuff. So I'm always promoting that and letting people know I'm also doing this and that. But I want them to walk away remembering having a good time with a smile on their face, you know, a smile in their heart, and just saying, wow, you know, the most important thing that happens to me during meet and greets, and we're doing a little bit of that, I'm trying to be conscious about, you know, not having too much content, which is impossible.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're selling merch. I'm selling CDs and vinyl and shirts and the whole thing. Soon we're going to have buttermilk and bread, but that's another story. Eggs, eggs and bacon, man. But you know, the thing that really keeps me going, bro, and I get them a lot, is when somebody tells me, you know, Marco, honestly, man, I've had a problem last night, and I should mention the name. Last night, a fellow bass player from London came and said, and I'm getting chills. He said, Marco, I've been struggling with cancer. At some point, I looked like I was not going to make it. And he mentioned a few albums that he had on heavy rotation. And he mentioned some of the stuff that I did. And I was like, thank you. And he hugged me. He gave me this to wear. He hugged me, a dude our age, and he wouldn't let go. And he was just almost crying. That's the stuff that keeps me going. It validates me in a deeper way. It tells me I'm doing something here that matters. You know what I mean? It's not only about the chops. It's not only about the performance. It's the fact that you're connecting to the human side of people. And to me, that's important, bro.
Absolutely.
That's very, very important. And that they walk away having fun. And yeah, you get the, you know, I forgot I had this.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to start a new trend.
I was going to say, is that your bikini top?
So those are the things that kind of fuel me to continue doing what I'm doing. But it's all about entertainment. You know, the other cat that I spend a lot of time in, I have my hat is off to, man, and I use him as a point of reference and an inspiration, was Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent starts his set, man. And every night I played with him, and I did quite a few shows. It was never the same. He's always, you know, he's guiding traffic, man, on the mic. You have to be on top of your game. And one of his influences and inspirations is what? James Brown, Little Richard, all the Motown cats, where he got that stuff from. So I take a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And there's so many cats that inspire me, you know. But as far as frontman and entertainers, I understand the value and how important it is to connect, you know. I've been having some issues with the lighting guys. Now, the venues that I'm doing are not massive, right? They're smaller clubs, but for some reason they light up the stage and they keep the audience dark. Okay. And I'm like playing to where is everybody? So I always I said, bro, can you light up the audience, because I need to connect, you know, I need to see the faces, their reactions. And so we're having a blast, man. We could talk about all the technical stuff forever, but you're right, man. I've learned to say a few jokes, and they're all spontaneous, you know. It's a state of mind that you're in when you get up on stage. First of all, I'm very lucky and very blessed, man, and privileged to be doing what I'm doing for this long. I'm going to be 85 next week, right?
Yeah. You mean 25. I can't keep up with you, man.
I know, bro. But sometimes I have to admit to myself, and sometimes I book too much. I'm so ambitious and so hungry that I'm at home, you know, in an air-conditioned place or heated, and I'm very comfortable, you know, enjoying my life at home. And I say, yes, 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 book it, yes, yes, book it. And then I get out here, and it's like, what did I do? Everything is hurting, you know, the back, the legs. But, you know, last night this dude touched me in a deep way, and I slept on it, and I was like, you know, it does matter, man, when you're making a little bit of a difference in somebody's life, you know. And I get a lot of those, bro. I get a lot of, you know, I was in a funk, I came, now I'm shining, I've got the light, I'm very positive. I try to focus on that.
Yeah, that's, hey, you know, it's, you know as well as I do, you know, it's like anytime one of my friends or one of my kids is in a funk, or that, you know, whether it's school or what, it's like,
Life.
go see a show. Yeah, go see a show. Go get that out of your mind. Go entertain yourself. Go to a show.
Yes.
Go to a movie. Go to something where you can escape that reality for, even if it's just for a couple hours.
True.
And
True.
music is, you know, music is the great escape, man. It heals everything.
It is.
It really
Yes.
does.
Very therapeutic, man. More than we realize. I think for most of us, we can all agree that when it was taken away, we felt the void. Man. I did. I'm like, wow. I never thought something like that would happen, right?
Right.
And it was taken away, and I'm like, yeah, I get invited to a couple of, you know, online things, virtual things, and I did a few, and then I didn't get the same connection, the human connection,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I passed on a few as well. But yeah, man, it's, you know, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
There's a song
And
in
I
there
think-
somewhere.
Absolutely.
So how many dates are you doing on this tour? You've been out for a while now.
I got out here. We started in Spain, and we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Spain. We did 2 in Germany, Holland, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
Wow.
16, 17, 18, 19, 22, about 30, 31.
Okay.
And but I got here September 27th, 28th to start promoting and doing stuff like that for Spain, because Spain, if you remember back in September, they were on, they were off, they were on and off, and we had to decide. I had to say, let's roll the dice and move forward, or let's pull it and rebook for next year. Now, next year, if things go well, it's looking like there's a lot of stuff cooking, a lot. So I was very doubtful that I was going to be able to fulfill those dates. So I decided, let's roll the dice, let's do Spain. But how the whole thing started, Dino, was this. The UK dates that I'm doing now were booked back in 20, right?
Oh, okay. Right.
A lot of the fans kept the tickets. They didn't get refunded. So we tried back in June. I don't know if you were aware. In June, Prime Minister Boris decided, and we were really careful about when we were going to book. We were booking back in March, April for June, because it was announced that at the beginning of June, things were going to open up in the UK. And I'm just trying to honor the fans that kept the tickets that didn't get refunded. So, you know, the promoters are calling me, the club owners are saying, hey, let's, you know, people want to know when you're coming, which is a great feeling.
Sure.
But on the other side, you got to make it right. People are holding on to their ticket. And so we said, okay, my thing with Journey, I saw the Journey had November wide open. So I made sure that I wasn't stepping on any dates or anything. I didn't have anything else. So we started rebooking the UK. We lost a lot of shows because, you know, the venues had some issues, they closed down or whatever. They didn't want to take a chance again because I'm an international cat. They didn't know what was going on logistically with the Corona thing, you know. So we ended up with 8 or 9 of them, something like that. And I said, let's go. We announced the dates in the UK, and then all of a sudden I got the call from Spain, from Holland, from Belgium, from France, from Sweden, saying, if you're coming to the UK, you're right next door, why don't you come down? So those 8 dates turned into 30 dates, which is cool. Yeah. Because I would rather come here and do as many dates as I can on that trip, you know. Sure. So that's how it started. So we're at the beginning of the UK run. We did London. We're doing Southampton. We lost 1 gig, which is Canada. They were having some issues, and we're going to postpone it and reschedule for next year. And there's a few of those here in the UK. So that's what it was. It was like people saw that I was coming. It's a good feeling, you know. And I'll tell you, man, the fans here in the UK are great, man. They love you, they appreciate you, they stand behind you. In France, we're building, you're planting little seeds everywhere. And so far, all the dates that I've done, are being rebooked. They want me to come back next year. So I'm doing a little bit of a juggle thing, trying to figure out what the next step is going to be, because I have a new album that's ready to go. So we're just, we've got to find the right time to release it and, back it up with dates to promote it. So
yeah.
It's there is a business side to the whole thing. And I'm not very good at it. I wish I had a manager. I really do. I have an issue. I'll be the first one to tell you, Dino. It's so hard, bro, for me to talk money, negotiate, because essentially you're selling yourself. You're saying, "Hey, look at me.
Yeah,
I'm worth this much."
and that's where a manager comes in and says, my guy is worth this much, and you remove yourself from that. But I got to be honest with you, dude. I don't know any manager that'd be able to keep up with you.
I've had a few, and I've had a few that I've lost. They've gone by the wayside because of that. Because I'm very ambitious, bro.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. I mean that in a very complimentary way, man. You, like I said, it's like every time we talk, it's like, all right, where's Marco today? It's like, well, I'm in St. Petersburg, Russia, and then I'm going to Germany tomorrow, and I've got this date. It's like, oh my gosh, man, you're like, God bless you, because that's why in some of the questions I wanted to ask you, like, how do you stay healthy, and how do you, like, what do you do to prepare for this?
Well, I gotta say, man, honestly, and people ask me, the first thing that goes through people's minds is that because I know I don't look normal like some of us don't. We don't, musicians, man, we look different, period. No matter how much we try to fit in, right?
Of course.
You know that. So I've had a history, and I'm a recovering alcoholic addict. I've had a history of struggling with that, and I think I still carry that with me. I still have that vibe about me. But I have to say, honestly, September 20th, 1987, and this is part of how I stay on top of my game, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every possible way. September 20th, 1987, I got sober. And I've been sober for 34 years. I just celebrated 34 years September 20th. So one of the big things that's going on is that, I'm not beating myself up too much, I have a lot of colleagues, a lot of friends that like to have the occasional drink here and there. And 9 out of 10 times, I wake up the next morning going, what did I do? What did I do? And to begin with, when you're flying, when you have a day of flying for 20-something hours to get to your destination, your body is getting beat up, period.
Oh, yeah.
You're dehydrated, you're sleep deprivated, you are, in another state when you come down, the compression, decompression, all that. So you're beating yourself up, and then when you start taking stuff on top of that, that's not going to help. So I really, I think part of it is that I also learned how to try to eat right. I try to exercise. I haven't been doing it much because I had knee surgery.
Right.
I had my knee replaced, and I think I told you we spoke about that. So I'm taking it really easy. The doctor said, don't, give it a year. And it's been 7 months now or so. Just give it a year before you start going on as strongly. And last night, the gig was so on that I was jumping, man. I was so excited. I was like, I get all lit,
Yeah.
And but this morning I felt it. In all honesty, I'm like, oh, okay, gotta take it easy. So it's just being aware. These days, man, we have so much knowledge and so much information available to us about things we can do to help ourselves, to help our bodies, And I also realize, and something that we all should be aware of, is we get one body, one lifetime, one body, and everything we put in it will enable us to continue in a healthy way, and so on and so forth. I'm not an expert. I just do little things that that really make a difference in the bigger picture.
Yep.
But staying active, bro, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Big
I would imagine. Yeah, absolutely. You know,
you went through not to take the focus away, but we shared some things, some surgeries and all that.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to get into that, and you look amazing, bro.
Thank
You really do. And when I spoke to you, I don't know how long ago, but I'm like, whoa, bro. Yeah. Whatever it is that you're doing, what's going on with you, it's, and I'm sure you notice a difference, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's my wife and kids. They keep me young. They turn this all gray, but they keep the body young.
Well, if I let my thing go, it's been white. I got a big when I turned 29. My mom did too. 29, a big old white, like Pepe Le Pew, the white strip. And at the time, I was hanging out with some beauticians, hair colorists, and all that. So they turned me on to the black thing. And I remember I was with Blue Murder, and we did a photo shoot. She said, "Let me try something." And okay, cool. Covered the white, and I saw the picture and going, "Yeah, I like it." So it's been like that.
It's been like that ever since.
I've tried a couple of things here and there, but the beard, which has been for the past 4 or 5 years, I let it go, and it's white. It's gray, white, salt and pepper, and it's cool.
Yep.
But color it a little bit, la la la.
That's I always carry the shoe polish every now and then. Hey, let's talk about some gigs here. So, I want to talk about your upbringing, your beginnings. You were born in San Diego.
Yes.
But then you were raised in Mexico. You grew up in Mexico.
I grew up in Tijuana, which is Mexico, but it's just south of the border, San Diego.
Okay. And so, how did you get your start musically? Did you start off as a bass player?
Not really. I actually, how it began is my parents separated. My mom was a professional singer. Okay. They actually had, her and her 2 sisters had a couple of singles played on the radio. And so I remember family gatherings from very little. There was always a guitar, there was always songs, and they would get together and drink and party and sing songs. So that was the first thing. When my parents separated, and my father, clarinet player.
Oh, okay.
My father was a Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller fan, big fan, man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And also that was the vinyl that was spinning. So my mom was the bluesy girl, the Broadway plays, the musicals. So everything from Oklahoma to The King and I, Carousel, and The Wizard of Oz. To this day, I have beautiful memories of all that stuff.
Sure.
And my father was Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, et cetera, et cetera. So I was exposed to that since I was very young. And I think it influenced me and inspired me, Yeah. You hear things and you start. But when they separated, my grandma came, my dad's mom came from Mexico City with her piano.
Oh.
And one of the things that my grandma did, she was teaching piano, classical piano. She was a great player. And at any given moment, she would have 10 to 12 students. So they would come over to the house. We didn't live in a huge house, so the piano was in your bedroom. The students would come in, and for an hour, you could hear all the exercises, the Hannah and the Bayer and all that stuff, the reading, sight reading. And so you hear that, and you go, wow, that's pretty cool. So I gave it a try with my grandma. And my grandma, God love her, man, old school, brother, with the ruler. So, da-da-da-da-da, that's a D flat.
Oh yeah.
So that happened. I gave it a good try, and then I noticed, classical piano is very strict, very disciplined. There's only one way of doing it, and I was too scattered. I was, up A, D, and D dyslexic, all of it. It was hard for me to read notes, the whole thing. So it was a very short try, but I enjoyed it. The other thing with playing piano is that everybody in the house could hear you when you're making mistakes. And I was so insecure when I was a kid. And I was that kid that was awkward, you know, freckles, buck teeth, the whole thing. I was extremely insecure about myself. That any little thing like that would really impact me, you know, in a bad way. So you start closing down. So I stopped with the piano because I was embarrassed at making a mistake and getting a ruler and all that. Then my brother, I was the middle child. My brother gets a guitar for his birthday. And then the guitar was sitting next to the piano. And I can't remember exactly how long it took me, but I remember it was just there. My brother he was over it, right? He ended up being a drummer, actually. But the guitar was there, so then the guitar had the Mel Bay book of chords. I don't know how many thousands of chords. It's a classic book. So I would take the book, grab the guitar, go find a quiet place in the corner somewhere where nobody's listening, and I started. I started D, E, E, A, F, G, and the barcodes. Oh, wow, the barcodes. Oh, so long story short, it was just a matter of weeks when I realized, wow, I have 3 chords. I can play Gloria. And that's what it was. It was Gloria and Diego.
Yeah.
That was the beginning. Along with that, the popular music then on the radio and all that was CCR. Yep. So if you really break it down, I have to turn the phone off. If you really break it down, oh God, my movies. If you really break it down, you know, you can play a lot of CCR songs.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. It just captured my imagination, my interest, and it became my friend, to be honest. Every time I had issues with anything, with life as a kid, you know, I was 12, 13 then, teenager, you know, but girls didn't dig me, you know, all that stuff. My brother was the handsome one. So I would go inside and get into my guitar and I started learning songs. And then I realized I became that kid that everybody would say, play this song, play that song. And I would go to sporting games, baseball, soccer was the big one in Mexico, basketball, and I was very inept. I was just not up to par, man. Not physical and not into sports. I was not good. So I would bring my guitar. And that's how I got validation, pretty much. Okay. I was the kid that would bring the guitar and play songs for everybody. Hey, yeah. So I became accepted, validated psychologically, emotionally. I'm going, oh, cool. I found something. Yeah. And that was the beginning. Pretty soon my father was so cool that he saw that I had a little bit of interest, and my brother started, you know, playing drums. The first instrument that we actually played, my brother was the snare drum in a big band. Okay. We used to do parades in Mexico. They're very popular. And I had a bugle, no valves bugle. So I learned how to use my lips.
Yeah.
Billie Sheehan is amazing with that, by the way, with the lips. He'll blow your mind, man. He can play any melodies of it. But so that was my first instrument, and then my first taste of, you know, we're in the parade, man, with the big band, with the dress and the whole thing, the big bags. Yeah. Wow, I dig it, and so. My dad was cool enough to know that we were headed in that direction to keep us out of trouble. There was a lot of bad stuff going on in DJ back then. Yeah. And he built a little adjacent to the house, which would have been a garage. He built a little studio for us to play. He got us some instruments, some amps. He was that kind of dad. Very cool. Yeah. Amazing. And so there you go. All of a sudden, my brother and I got together with 2 other brothers. I was playing rhythm guitar. I had a Mustang Fender. I graduated. It was amazing. Oh, wow. And we had Fender Tweeds amps, you know. Yeah. So the other brothers the other brother played bass and guitar, lead guitar. I was more of a rhythm guy. But my brother and I would handle the vocals because we were doing covers of a lot of stuff, and we spoke English. We grew up in a home that was bilingual. So Spanglish was the thing, you know. Every other word was so that was it, man. And that was the beginning of the garage band. And the next thing that happened, it was another garage band that was more popular. They were doing the school dances already, and they were doing some bigger gigs that paid. And they had a van with their logo, Peace Association. And their bass player left town. Something happened, the whole family moved. And they approached me by then, and they said, you know, we're looking for a bass player that can sing, lead. You want to try and audition? I said, yeah. So they gave me 4 or 5 songs to learn. And they were cool because they were into Grand Funk Railroad. They were into Allman Brothers, bro. And I'm like, very cool. Savoy Brown, Bread. They were doing Bread. They were doing Hendrix. But Grand Funk, the Mark Farner thing, I just started learning it, and it was really hard. I remember. All of a sudden, now I'm not playing rhythm. Now I'm playing counterpoint, counter melodies against the leads. And so I think that was the spark, because it was challenging, and I'm like, I have that bullhead mentality where if I have issues with anything, I try to resolve it. I'm challenged within myself. So I started spending more time, and I developed that thing, you know, where it was a little more fluid. But it was a blast, man. We had a blast with that band. It was amazing. I still talk to Louis, one of the guys, one of the founders. Peace Association. How cool is that?
That is cool. Now, do you? I guess I'm trying to figure out a way to ask this question, but do you spend more time developing your voice at that point, or were you working more on your bass?
I was doing both, because the bass was a new instrument. And by the way, I gotta say, when my dad heard that I was going to audition for this band, I said, "Pops, I don't, what's wrong?" He said, "I don't have a bass." Get in the car. We went to the nearest pawn shop. He bought it. "You have a bass here?" "Yeah, that one." It was like a copy of a P bass. It didn't have a brand. It was $8, $5, nothing. And that was my dad. I have great memories of him.
Always supportive.
Always.
That is awesome.
So bass playing became the challenge, because by then I was singing already a little bit, nothing heavy, but it came natural to me, and that was more fluid. But doing both together, so the bass playing became a little bit of an issue, and I started spending more time doing that. A big fan of the Beatles, big fan of Paul McCartney's approach on the bass and singing, all that stuff. And then later on, you get into the progressive stuff, Yes, and King Crimson and Pink Floyd and all the other stuff.
Right.
But I think bass was initially where I spent most of my time. And then I always picked, and I always tell people that want to ask me, so where did you start? You start with the simplest melody that you can find, that a song, and then a simple bass line, so you can understand the correlation, the connection, and anything that's worth learning is going to take a little bit of patience, a lot of patience with yourself. But if you put the time in, you'll notice that after, it's different for everybody. You'll notice that you'll progress. And so patience with yourself is a big word. So by then, I really wanted to impress, and I wanted to be part of this band, and so I put a lot of time, and I developed that thing. And now to this day, it's when, like, your question is like, I don't have a formula. It's like, so because it was inherent. It just happened, because I really wanted to do it. I spent the time. But I tell people, start with simple melodies. You know, Born on the Bayou it's a good one. Boom, 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 boom. When I was just a little boy. It's always on the beat, right?
Oh,
Boom,
yep.
very simple. So those are the songs. Proud Mary.
Yeah.
And on and on. Susie Q. Another Born on the Bayou bass line.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
right.
Susie Q. Oh, Susie Q. So those were the songs that I kind of put the whole thing together, and I got a little confidence within myself. Of course, the more you play and the more you progress, and your gigs got bigger and bigger, they're more challenging. But if there was a formula that I found was the fact that I had to put time in and be patient with myself. And even now, bro, I got to tell you, we're doing new songs from my latest album that, you know, when you're writing and you're recording separately, there's been a few times where I played and sang, right?
Yep.
So you get creative, and then it's time to play them live. Oh.
We were thinking about that in the studio.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I was doing what?
Yeah, right.
But lucky enough, my you know, the writing has gotten much simpler. It's rock and roll based, so a lot of eighth notes, nothing heavy going on, and I can focus on the singing too. Which, by the way, is what I'm doing now. I'm trying to focus on the singing because it's a 3-piece, and the guys are on fire. They're playing great, man. And Tommy Gentry on the guitar from the
cool.
UK, and Kyle Hughes. Both of them are, you know, very young. They're on fire. They're hungry. They're thirsty, and they bring it, man. Every night they bring it. So, being the veteran, being the experienced guy, I got to be on my game, which I love. You know.
Sure.
And I'll be the first one to tell you, man. Sometimes, you know, you mess up here or there, and then I've learned to repeat it, and it becomes part of the song.
Right? Yeah. What do they say? You know, if you do it twice, it was meant to be, or it's part of the song. Make the same mistake.
Yeah. But as a bass player, you know, we can change the root here.
Oh, absolutely.
And if the melody's there, and it works. That's one thing I learned about jazz, you know. It's like harmonically, you have places you can move, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're Scott Henderson used to tell us at MI, you're only a half step away from the right note. So, you know. Joe Pass.
Yeah,
you know,
same thing. Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it because I don't sing nearly as much as I should. I'm always envious of players that sing because you create your own gig. You know what I mean? You create your own destiny. As a bass player that doesn't sing, a lot of times I'm waiting for the phone to ring. For somebody to hire me as a bass player. But I know I can sing and play bass. I can go and book my own gigs. And hire, you know what I mean? So it's so important to be able to sing and play, I think.
I agree, bro. This is something my son, who's a great bass player, he's got a great gig. One of the things, and anybody that we have a chance to share things with, you know, that we're teaching each other. We're all learning from each other. Every time I talk to you, I learn something from you. Man, I would say 60, 70, 80% of the gigs, the calls that I get are because I can sing BBs, I can sing backgrounds. And if need be, I can pull off, you know, I can pull off a lead vocal here, which some of the gigs are sometimes required that you can do that to give the singer, the front guy, a little break. I'm doing it with my thing. I have Kyle Hughes that sings great, a drummer. And I feature him on a Thin Lizzy track, and he kills it. And I get a little breather, and I come back, and you know, so I would say that it's kind of important, and more so these days, I believe, because you know, what used to be 6, 7, 8-piece bands projects are going down to 4 and 5 and even 3.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky with my trio because the guys, Tommy sings great. He's a great pianist, a lot of training, but he plays from his heart, the guitar player, Tommy Gentry.
Yeah.
He works with Gunn, by the way. Gunn in many other projects. Gunn, the band
okay.
Gunn.
Okay.
And
Cool.
he can sing. And so any parts that I give the guys, boom, they nail it every night. And then Kyle, so we have a 3-part harmony that we do live. And so that's important with my writing,
Yep.
my songs. I come from that school. I really enjoy vocals, 3-part harmonies and 4 parts when you can, you know.
Yeah.
Really dig it. I'm thinking about incorporating a keyboard player that can sing and play guitar, and I know a few for my next run, for next year, for the next album.
Yeah.
Because that would be cool. But I would say, yeah, develop that skill, and you'd be surprised, man. If you start simple, you know, and you pull it off, it's just getting over that hump where you feel confident enough that you can pull it off anytime. What do you want me to sing? I'll sing this. Yeah, boom, do it.
You know,
oh no, because you have it in you. Because you have it in you.
Of course.
To play an instrument, it's got to go through the brain first, right? When you put your bass, you've got the fingerboard. You know what notes you're playing, when you're playing them. It's the same thing here. So it's just allowing you to open up. So I really, you know, I tell everybody we can all sing. We can all sing. I'll be the first one to tell. I'm not the best singer, but what I do with commitment, and I'm in there. And if I'm a little flat and sharp, it doesn't matter. It's the delivery that matters, you know. So at the end of the day, so yeah, and it's a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah,
singing. I really dig it. And when you start writing your own stuff, because you're pretty much painting your own canvas, you know, the colors you choose, and relaying that message, whatever that message might be, you know.
Yeah.
So I enjoy, and I miss it when I'm not doing it. When I'm working with all the other projects, the bigger projects, I miss it from time to time.
You know, I gotta end. I know I put this in the notes. You know, I was going to ask you this, but your time with Thin Lizzy.
Yes.
How come you weren't saying Lynyrd parts? It's like the first time I saw you play with Thin Lizzy, it's like, oh my gosh, like Marco with Thin Lizzy singing Phil Lynyrd parts. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. But I'm sure there's a reason.
There's a reason, but I'll say this. I'll begin with this. After so many years, I included a Thin Lizzy track on my latest album.
Okay.
To kind of pay tribute to, you know, one of the bands that has been a highlight in my career, that I spent a lot of time with, whose tracks I totally love. Phil and Scott and Brian and Darren. But John Sykes, when I got involved with that project, John was doing a brilliant job at the front.
Okay.
And he was one of the original members from Thunder and Lightning, the last album they ever did, as Thin Lizzy. So it came up a couple of times. I think Scott brought it up. He said, Marco, you're a great singer. Why don't you sing a track? And I want to say I did, and I got beat up. The press it just didn't. You know, Latino bass player. The timing was wrong. Now it's included on my album, Viva La Rock. We do Chinatown. And I say it's a tribute to Phil. I also do a cover of Hey Baby, which I sang with Ted and recorded live with Ted, because I'm a big fan of Derek St. Holmes' vocals, right? And Ted. So I included that also as a tribute. So it feels right, because it's recorded now, and it's a tribute, you know, to the bands that I've been part of for so many years. But that's what it was. It was one of those things where John was killing it. It wasn't necessary. You know, Darren is a brilliant singer as well. And I think he started doing a few songs live. And it was well received. They're the original cats. They were part of...
Yeah, no, I get it.
So who is this who is this new kid? And I was very young back then, but younger.
Yeah.
Who's this guy, man? He's stepping into those big shoes. What? He's singing what?
Yeah. No, I get it now. I dig it. Yep.
So we were careful with that. I mean, we were getting beat up anyway because we were doing, we were doing Thin Lizzy without Phil.
Yeah.
We got a lot of bad feedback from that. And at the end of the day, it ended up being about the songs, about the legacy that Phil and the boys did, and they left a big mark in rock and roll history. And to this day, all those songs, right? They're great songs for bass players and singers and guitar players and drummers.
Yeah.
It's like all of it.
Yeah.
So that was the reason. And but I really I had a great time, bro. Great time.
Yeah.
When I first got the call from John, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
John called and said, Marco, we're thinking about getting together. We have Udo in Japan wants us to do a tribute to Phil. It was Phil's birthday, blah, blah, blah. And I had been doing some Lizzy tracks with John because it's part of his collaboration with Phil and the boys. And so he says, I'm going to throw your name in the mix. You want to come and, he didn't say audition, but you want to come and play for the guys? Said, yeah. So I went ahead and got everything I could get my hands on. Back in those days, Tower Records were still around.
Right.
So I got vinyl, I got 8 tracks, I got cassettes.
Yeah.
I got VHS, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of homework, and I learned, I studied it, and I ate it up for a couple of weeks. I showed up at Third Encore and met the guys, and they were checking me out.
Sure.
I think we played a lot of them, even the deep cuts. I made some notes. I wrote some rough charts and all that, just in case. And I got through it, and then Scott at the end of it, said, well, Marco, you want to come to Japan? It's yours if you want it. I said, absolutely. Sure. So we went and did 7 shows, I believe, in Japan. Okay. The shows were sold out like that. And that was the beginning of the rest of the world realizing that the guys were doing that, and then we started getting invited here and there. And what was originally going to be a one-off ended up being, I ended up doing 20-something years there, off and on.
Yeah. Wow.
And really cool, man, really cool. Really great time.
You've had some amazing gigs.
Yes.
In Lizzy, Dead Nugent, Whitesnake, Dead Daisies, Blue Murder. Was your first big gig, was that with Bill Ward?
I was a guy that I was in LA, and I was working with a producer, Joe Porter, who was working for Motown. He recruited me out of San Diego. I was doing a cover band and working, 4, 5, 6 nights a week, supporting my family. And he came one time and saw us, and I remember, man, I couldn't even stay in the clubs. I had to play, and according to the union, I had to step out on the breaks because I was 17, 18, and he saw something. He saw that I could sing and play, and him and his wife, Becky Lopez, we started talking. She's Latina. She's an amazing singer, and they recruited me to come to LA as a session guy. And so I would come up and work for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. A lot of playing, man. A lot. In great studios, some of the best studios in LA. And I'm like going, wow, this is a trip. And that was my connection. So through him, he was in the business, in the industry in a heavy way. I got auditions with big cats, Lionel Richie, Cher, et cetera, et cetera. I know. That's when these cats were like, shoot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The problem was that I was using. I was drinking, and I was doing a lot of drugs. I was strung out on heroin, and I think it was too much for me to handle. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't physically ready, psychologically. I was in a lot of fear, very insecure again. Being put in these situations, I was like, what the hell? over the top. And to this day, I just to believe, had I gotten some of these big, huge gigs, that would have been the end of me, to be honest, looking back. So I had a big problem with drugs and alcohol. And again, divine intervention got me out of the situation. And I had a big wall. I got sober in '87. And so I had a little bit of a name, a little bit of a reputation in those circles.
Yep.
And so that's what it was, man. When I came back in 89, 88, 89, I was ready. I was ready psychologically, spiritually, physically. I was hungry. I had realized what a gift I was given, and I just threw it away. So I came focused, and that's when I started showing up on time. I started to learn, and so on and so forth. And I started building a good reputation, and so people started calling me, and that's what it was, bro. And I understood that LA was the place to be.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
You come out.
No, it was Siri for some reason. Something's going on with my computer. Anyway, so I was doing meetings, and I fell heavily into the 12-step. I realized that was my conduit. That was my vehicle to stay sober. Because all of a sudden I had 3 months of sobriety, and I had 6 months of sobriety. I wasn't playing music yet. It was suggested for me to get away from the business. It's too much for me to handle. And I took directions for the first time. So I was doing these meetings in Orange County in Newport. And in one of those meetings, Bill Ward was going to these meetings. Bill Ward from Black Sabbath.
Oh, okay.
And long story short, after a few meetings, we got to talk to each other. And of course, I knew who he was. I don't know that he knew who I was, but maybe heard that I was a bass player. And he wanted to surround himself with sober people, which is recommended at the first year, the first couple of years. So he said, long story short, after me, he said, Marco, I'm doing my first solo album. I would love it if you come to the studio and play on a couple of tracks. And I said, absolutely, man. So I gathered some money. I bought again, it was like starting from the bottom. I bought a bass for $200-300, the best I could, And I started chopping away 2 weeks, and I showed up at the studio. And to my surprise, Jack Bruce is on it, Malcolm Bruce, Zach Wilde is on it. He had Ginger Baker that was played. I mean, this whole world opened up. I'm going, and for me, it was God was watching over me, put me in the right place. And to this day, I owe Bill a lot, because we started playing. He said, "Oh, cool! Can you play on this track too?" Oh, can you play on this track? And I ended up, I don't know how many, but there's quite a few. Tim Bogart was there too, which I'm a big fan of, right? Jack Bruce and Tim Bogart in the same album. I'm like, what? So I must have done something right, and I ended up playing quite a few tracks. Then he approached me and says, Marco, I want to start playing live. Would you be interested in being part of my band? I said, yes. So that was my first gig coming back. I call it my rebirth of sorts. It was my new life, sober, here and spiritually, and ready to take care of business. And still hungry and very thirsty, but in a sober way now. So we rehearsed, we got ready, and then I don't know exactly what happened, but the first gig didn't happen for whatever the reason. And that was it. What it did do is put me on the map in a different vein, By then, I had always done some side gigs. By then, I was playing a lot of fretless. Exclusively. And I had put a little trio because the work wasn't enough. So in between gigs and recordings and sessions and touring, little short tours, I started playing with my trio, my thing, and I got a gig at Lavalier every Tuesdays.
Okay.
And
Wow.
we started developing this sound, this approach, very eclectic, from left field to right field and la la
Yeah.
la. And
Yeah.
I was fronting it and singing it and all that. All of a sudden, the word got around, and it became a bit of a thing, man. On Tuesday nights, everybody would come in, bro.
Sure.
Everybody. So the album with Bill was released. Chameleon Records, which was the label, Fold It. That was part of the reason why it didn't move forward. Back in those days, think about it. It's the end of the 80s and 90s. Grunge is coming in. Everything's,
Yeah.
So I'm playing with my trio jazz, the jazz, funk, Latin, whatever. I can't even put a label on it. It's everything.
It's everything.
It was a melting pot of everything. And John Sykes comes in. And, John looks like John. He's a good-looking cat, the hair. And everybody's going, oh, And we usually did 2 sets. So we played our first set. A lot of notes, fretless.
Yeah.
And then I went over to say, well, hey, man, thanks for coming in. He said, Mark, can we have a talk? Yeah. So I took him back in the kitchen. I have an album. It's my second album for Geffen. And Tony and Carmine are not involved anymore. And I'm 3 months late. I need to finish this album ASAP. Would you be interested in coming into the studio again? I said, yes. By then, I had heard the first Blue Murder album, and I'm a big fan of Tony's. That tone, man.
Oh, yeah.
And he's playing. We're friends now, And Carmine, that album to this day, it's like, wow. So I was really flattered, and he had heard through the grapevine about this fretless guy, and came in to hear me and offered me the gig after I came into the studio. I've got touring to do and all that. You want to be part of Blue Murders? Yes. So we had a blast. And to this day, I hold him very dear. He's a good friend. And he's one of the most talented cats I know. And I'm hoping that pretty soon he comes out there and show the world who he is again, because they need to see him, They need to see us playing, his singing, his whole thing. He's got a big part of rock and roll history, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And re-educate the new generations. But anyway, that was sad. So Bill wore it into Blue Murder, and then I started getting, I worked with Edgar Winter, I worked with Al Jarreau, I could go down the list.
Yes.
Different kinds of sessions, different genres, and all because of my trio.
Yeah.
Because we were doing different, they could see that I could play a ska groove, and I could rock it out, and I could funk it out, and bebop it, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was it.
You know what? And that's the thing. It's like, if somebody were to ask me, what kind of player is Marco Mendoza? I'm just gonna go check him out. You know what I mean? It's like rock, funk, Latin. I mean, the first time you played for Ampeg at the NAMM show was with
Joey
Heredia.
And Renato.
Yeah, and you burned the room down. Seriously, there wasn't anybody. Everybody was standing. And
those cats are amazing. Playing with those cats, it's going to school, bro. They're like where they come from,
But that's the thing. I think the whole set was pretty much like this Latin, rock, jazz.
Yeah.
Funk. And then the next year you came in and played the Ampeg booth. You had backing tracks that time.
I did some rock.
Our budget was smaller, obviously. That was Ampeg, and we couldn't. And you played rock, and it was like everybody's like, wait a second, he played last year. Didn't he have Joey Heredia, and he did this Latin funk thing, and now he's playing metal tracks and rock tracks. And,
yeah.
I mean,
bro,
it's a testament to why I think. One of the reasons why you work so much too, because
I think so. I've also lost a lot of gigs. People were. I could name a few people, big cats that came to check me out at important gigs, and sometimes certain genres require a groove, man. 8 notes and groove it down here with a 4-string and do some VVs and, you know, lay it back and groove, man, lock with the drum. Well, the trio is completely the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
And the bop, 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 and the boom, boom, boom. And but I'll tell you honestly, man, and I still feel this way to this day. Music should be no labels. It should be one thing. Music is music, period. Where it came from, where it originated from. You know, it's always rhythm. There's always a swing thing involved. If it ain't got that swing, baby, whether it be rock, it's so true. I talk to my guys about that, to Kyle especially. Bro, whether you're playing speed metal, because he's amazing, man. He can play anything, right? Think about the pocket, man. Think about the swing. Think about if it's just you on stage, you want to move the people. You want to hear this. You want to see the heads popping, and you know, the booty moving, man, and swinging. Whether it's, you know, you're playing 30 seconds or 16s or 4s, what that's where it comes from, you know. Yeah, you know, and all these other genres develop from there, but it's so important. It's about the swing, the rhythm, the melody, the content, you know. Yeah. So I was lucky in that I grew up in Tijuana, because I grew up being exposed to, you know, Revolucion, where all the clubs were. I don't know if you ever made it down there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Revolucion Boulevard. A Boulevard Revolucion. You can go to one club and it's straight rock, and then you go to another one, it's Brazilian grooves, and then you go to a big band salsa, you know, with no drummer, you know, just congas and timbalero, and you the bass drum.
That's the bass line, yeah, right.
And to this day, I have great memories just being there as a kid going, wow, look at that. So I was lucky that way, and but I lost a lot of gigs too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was at the right cat for it, you know, and but after a while, I think I realized, and I started playing less, and I started showing up. I couldn't really show up to a Thin Lizzy gig with a 6 fretless. You know what I mean? That's the other thing that I've learned. I had the young days where I wanted to get on the map, prove myself. And then I said, you're a bass player, you have to support the song, you just have to hook up with the drummer and bring the right tools for the right gig.
Yeah.
So the 6 became 5, and the 5 became 4. And now I play 5 on my gig because I do a lot of different tunings. You know, I record in E flat, I go, depending on the voice, we can, you know, move it. And and I bring the fretless here and there, and I play and I have fun on that side too. But very important, man. You know, as bass players, man, there's a part that we need to provide.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Lock in with the drummer, the groove, you know, support the melody, support the soloist, the vocalist, the whole thing. So
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's like you said, it's one thing if you're doing your own thing, because then that you can define that however you want to define it. When you're doing a specific gig, though, you know, like I played actually. I don't know if I want to apologize, but this past weekend I had to play My Girl.
Nice.
You know, like
go.
Yeah, and it was like the only way to play that song is with a P bass with flat wounds. You know what I mean? You can't walk into that gig with a 6-string alembic and expect the same results. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But bro, I gotta say those bass parts are amazing.
Oh my God! I was watching Standing in the Shadows last night, and you know I've been friends with Babbitt. I met him in Nashville years ago. We were friends. And
I never had the pleasure, man. Yeah.
Just watching everybody's parts, like you say, all encompassing, not just the bass line, but the 2 drummers, the percussion, the tambourine, everybody has their part, and it's like this small piece of a greater sum, you know, a greater whole.
Yes.
Man, yes, it really is.
Beautiful.
It's all about
Beautiful.
that.
That's all the Motown stuff is just so much fun.
Yeah. Yep. Listen, I know we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
But
I know, weren't we supposed to do 20 minutes?
Well, you know,
people are fading.
You know what? People have been engaged on this through the whole hour. I mean, people are watching, and I want to say, anybody that's watching, please mention in the comments if you have a question or a memory that you want to share with Marco. You got to see him at some point. Please put it in the comments, and we'll try and answer them here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. But you know, I tell everybody, Marco, this is like, you know, we like to have these conversations at NAMM because that's the one time we really get to see each other, is at NAMM shows or at concerts. Yeah. And you don't have that time to do that because there's so many millions of other things going on. So this is the conversation that I like to have at NAMM. We just don't have the time to do it. Man,
you're one of the busiest cats there. Oh, actually, I missed you in 20. You were sick. I came over to say hello, and you were something of the NAMM-itis bug. And wouldn't you know, the corona thing hits right after, right?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Well, people were not just me, but other people were saying they were wondering if we were carrying a precursor to it, and we were carrying it. You know,
I can't remember a NAMM show where I didn't lose my voice, got sick. You know, I've been doing them since 1935. Bro, I have so many good memories about NAMM. With my trio, Joey Cannot Do It, I would go from booth to booth to booth. Oh, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying we used to play 3-4 times a day.
Sure.
For 3 or 4 days. It was so blessed. The big stage, the small stage, the little booths, the little thing. That's when it was thriving. And then it got a little more expensive or whatever. The budgets were lowered or whatever. But man,
we're going to have you back.
Well, cool. I'd love to be. Yeah. Is this? Oh, so now it looks like June.
Yeah, they're saying I want to say like the first week in June or the first full weekend in June is when it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so they're combining both ends.
I would love to come back. I really have a blast, and I get to see a lot of my friends. You're right. You get to congregate. And,
right.
So. A lot of my people I look up to still to this day. There's so many cats. Man. Sure. It's like wow. I go there like. My glass is full, inspired, and
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. I get to see Stanley at NAMM show for some reason. Every NAMM show, I get to see Stanley Clark, who I consider a friend, and he was one of those cats that just influenced so many bass players and stuff in the world. What a player, man, and a sweetheart, great human being. And I met him when I first got to LA, when I was back in the scene, and. Always very cool. Always.
Yep.
The coolest cats. And, I always get to see him, and it's always cool to say hello. You know.
That's cool. Yep.
And Victor and Billy and so many, the cats. Alain Caron. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So many. Gary Willis. All the cats, man.
Yep. No, and that's just it. It's like where else in the world do you get to see all those guys in one place?
And Rudy, I see him at Ampeg. We say hello here and there.
Yep. We got some young cats coming up too. That there's 2 guys out of Spain that
are amazing. There's so many.
Vicky Santa Maria and Vincent Garcia, 2 Spanish guys that Mickey came out to NAMM the last time we had a NAMM show, and he were in the audience now.
Killed it
with some tracks and just killed it.
Yes. The new generations are mind blowing. There's these little girls, man, 10 years old, going what? Right?
I know it. The faster, the more I see them play faster, the slower I play. It's like,
me too.
I'm just going to play whole notes.
Yeah. Same here. But it's about inspiration. It's good. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, the bass world is going to explode again. I really do believe. Judging by what I see online, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
All we need to do is open the live performances more, the venues, and create more awareness like that. You know,
Yeah.
the online thing is beautiful, but play live.
No, you got to be there. Yeah, you got to be in. You got to be in. You got to be in it. You know.
Yeah.
Marco, man, thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. Man, this has been an absolute thrill. Thank you for joining and coming in.
Thank you, Dino. Thanks for asking, brother. Anytime. Anytime.
Of course. Always awesome to see your face, man. You always bring the inspiration and the fire. And
thank you, brother. Thank you.
Seriously.
We're just channels. We're just channeling, man. It comes from somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
You look great, man, and you sound great, bro. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. We'll catch up soon. When are you back in the States?
Right now, I'm scheduled to come back on the 19th of November, just in time for Thanksgiving, which is great.
Okay.
And then there's a little bit of things going on, some session work in LA for that. And then, so I'm back there.
Let's touch base when you're back in the States.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's do that.
Be safe.
Thank you to Ampeg and you for all the support, man. I always say, to do the best job, you need the best tools. And Ampeg, it's up there, man. It doesn't get any better. Bottom line. So thank you for supporting.
Anytime, brother. Always. All right.
Okay.
Peace.
See you soon. Bye.